Today, in the second day of our discussion with directors series, so today we have 4 plays, but unfortunately we have only 2 directors from the plays because 2 directors they have to go back to their home like for another performances. And then, so I hope you are enjoying this festival and hope you got time to watch at least 2 or 3 plays yesterday because the time was so like. Busy. We were so busy with the schedule itself. So for today's discussion, so we will have, as I said earlier, 2 directors. One is Jacques S. Matthiessen, so he is already here. We would like to welcome him. And this play he was staged at Kirtipur, Rangamans Kirtipur Theatre. And then another we have Patrika Ghimire. So she did his debut direction of her what was chapter confession. My father is a murderer. So we have these 2, and then we'll be joining by Ghimire Yuvraj. So he is the director of this Shilpee Theatre. So he will be joining, and also we will have Akanchha Karki from Kathagera. And actor and director Sudam also will be there. And then to moderate this session, so we will have Shekhar Kharel. So he is already there. So we would like to welcome him as well. And so he is the like journalist, renowned journalist of Nepal. And then he also did like one documentary named Kathmandu Odyssey. And also he also wrote one essay collection, Maile Nadekeko Hippie. So we are like expecting the wonderful session, and then with the questions, with the like elements that we found in the plays, and then the questions that got raised after watching the play. So we will be like trying to make this like environment more discussion oriented, and then so that we can get something from this and something for tomorrow and for today, like for the other plays. So we will be having these discussions every day here, and then every day at 10 to 11:30, and then so Ghimire Yuvraj and other like, can anyone help me to like get them here so that we can begin. And then so by saying this, so I would like to hand over my responsibility to Mr. Kharel sir to take this over and then like maintain it in the
the director, I can see Akanchha Karki, composer, Sudam he's already here. And he was, he's here because he's based here. And Jacques is already here. And Patrika, so she was surprised to me. So I think I haven't watched her play so far, but I have heard from my colleagues that the play was very wonderful. Shall we wait for Yuvraj Ghimire or shall we begin and he might join in the meantime?
किनभने युवराज दाइ चाहिँ त्यो अर्को आजको नाटकको लाइफ एकदमै सेन्सिटिभ भएको हुनाले उनीहरूले छोड्नै मानिरहेको छैन, अलिकति टाइम लाग्ने.
So he might be joining any moment. Yesterday I couldn't watch all 4 plays because it was being performed in the various locations and given the short time and yesterday's weather. And one very unprecedented incident happened yesterday. Dear friend of ours, minister, young minister, he died in a helicopter chopper crash. So yesterday all of us were in many ways disturbed. But I managed to watch one play, that was The Job. Unfortunately the director and the team they left this morning. So we have only 2 directors, Jacques and Patrika Ghimire. So I would like to take leverage of not being able to watch all 4 plays. So I thought this morning how to begin the session. So the session is apparently like a master class because we have the directors, 2 directors, and she's also actor director of another play. So we can have the sharing of each other's experiences and learning from each other's individuals. So it's more like a master class. So to begin this session and to make my job more easier, I would take the support of you because I would like to make you comment on others' play so that you can enter into others' play. For instance, I haven't watched her play, so I would like to ask you, Akanchha, Karki, or Jacques, or Sudam, could you come closer? So any of you to volunteer to speak on Patrika Ghimire's play, which was chapter confession. So her play was chapter confession. My father is a murderer. So any of you could kindly volunteer to speak on my chapter confession. My father is a murderer, so that we can enter into the plot of the play, because I will watch that. Yeah, have you watched her play?
No, because as I was acting also
Yes.
yesterday, I didn't have time to see anything yesterday.
Yes.
So,
Maybe Akanchha, you have.
Do you want to share about your play first, then I will comment?
That will be. Anything.
I will say what I saw. So, so I think her play was very well written, very strong content, and it was about a woman who is now the first IGP inspector. And she's looking back onto her life, and she's a really tough lady, and she's looking back onto her life, and she talks about how she is the person she is because of the relationship she shared with her father and her twin brother. So she has a twin brother and her father. Her mother passed away when she was born, and her brother was born 2 hours before her. And so, and in this patriarchal society and everything, and how the structure of society is, the father was very, very overwhelmed and very happy that a son was born. And father had a history of being, a history of wanting to be the IGP, but because he got shot in the leg, he had this that he had this kind of like determination to give birth or marry a woman and give birth to a male child who will then go on to be an IGP officer and fulfill his dream. But and so a first son is born, and after 2 hours the daughter comes out of the womb, and when the daughter comes out of the womb, the mother passes away because of overbleeding. And it is also his fault because I remember this dialogue from the play, it is also his fault because he refuses to take the wife to the hospital because the wife, there were only male doctors in the hospital, so she has to give birth at home. So because of unforeseen circumstances, the wife passes away and the second child is born. So over the whole growing up of 2 children, raising 2 children, he pressurizes the male child to become masculine and put a lot of male gender roles, stereotypical male gender roles on the man, and just does not look at the girl child at all and hates her and keeps saying that you killed my wife and you killed the mother, and he just treats her like a nobody. So as they grow up, what happens is the gender roles, the gender stereotypes get reversed, and the male child is more feminine and everything, and his interests are like taking care of the house and dancing and arts and everything. And the female child, because she did not ever get the love while she was growing up, she becomes very rebellious and she is into the more masculine things. So actually the gender roles get completely reversed, and it just goes on, and it has a very sad ending. And there was a lot of flashback, and the technicalities of it, there's a lot of flashback, and there's a narrator who's telling the story, so events are happening and it keeps going back and forth, back and forth. It was very interestingly written. So I'll just share that much right now.
Thank you very much. The way she narrated the play was absolutely like the visual text. So I have a better understanding of the play, though I'm going to watch the play yesterday. Do you have anything to add? Because the theme of the play, I feel that you have reversed the motion of the society, of our patriarchal society. So you have made the female protagonist the Inspector General of Police, which is in Nepal, the head of the police force is Inspector General of Police. So in reality, till today, we don't have the Chief of Army Staff or the Chief of the Nepal Police, women. All have been male for many years, many centuries now. So she has reversed the idea of showing that the masculinity is very much related with the forces, that is the security forces. Even you can see very less women joining the security forces, military or the police forces, and then becoming the chief of the forces is not a reality now. But she in her imagination, a woman become the chief of the police force. So what is the idea that you reverse the very notion, the preconceived notion of the masculinity related with the security forces and the male becoming the chief of the forces, because you have shown the male. Because I remember one story that I studied in my bachelor's level, that was the cocksure women and hensure male. The cock is a male and hen is women, but the writer has how the very trait has reversed, the cocksure women and hensure men. So it was satire. So she has made the women more powerful and the men subdued. So what is your idea to reverse the notion of masculinity?
Actually, women more powerful. We would say speaking Nepali.
Biplab da. So we call Biplab here, Biplab da. So could you come over? This is the director of Chambawati that was performed yesterday. What's a Nepali one? She's speaking Nepali because so we have a leverage of language, and they say that if you speak one language, then if you speak two languages, you are bilingual. If you speak more languages, you are multilingual. But if you speak only one language, you are perhaps an American. We are not American. We can speak more languages.
Okay, just to say, we have a translator here from Nepali to English.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
Everyone, so it would be possible to translate simultaneously for the English people. Just
could you come over here? So
no, we need him here. But if because he is doing it simultaneously.
Okay, you will just understand.
So the English-speaking people could come over here so that you get immediately the.
So she will make a pause and then you will do the translation.
No, they are doing simultaneously.
Whispering, okay, that's fine.
Like it's like I can explain it better in Nepali, so I'll explain it in Nepali. म जस्तो समाजमा हुर्किएँ अनि बसिरहेको छु, प्लस हजुरहरू पनि त्यस्तै समाजबाट हुर्किएको छ जसमा चाहिँ एउटा मापक तयार गरिएको छ कि मापन बनाइएको छ। मेल भनेको यस्तो हुनुपर्छ, फिमेल भनेको यस्तो हुनुपर्छ। मेल भनेको चाहिँ स्ट्रोङ अनि बडीली पनि एकदम फिजिकली पनि फिट, एकदमै बहादुर, आर्टिलो, साहसी त्यस्तो खालको मापन तयार गरेको छ मेलको लागि। अनि फिमेलको स्ट्यान्डर्ड सेट चाहिँ कस्तो गरेको छ भन्दाखेरि लजालु खालको, साई, अलिकति ठुलो स्वरमा बोल्ने, हाँस्ने त्यस्तोलाई चाहिँ फुत्ताउलो, छाडा त्यस्तो ट्याग दिन्छ हैन यो समाजमा। जस्तो समाजमा म हुर्किएँ। मेरो मैले प्लेबाट देखाउन खोजेको मेन चिज पनि यही हो। कुनै पनि सबैमा त्यो जुन सोसाइटीले स्ट्यान्डर्ड सेट गरेको छ सबै महिला पुरुष सबैमा त्यो लागू हुँदैन, एक्सेप्सनहरू हुन्छ। प्लस त्यो चाहिँ आफ्नो इन्डिभिजुअल पर्सनमा डिपेन्ड गर्छ को कस्तो हो भनेर नि। महिला भन्ने बित्तिकै लजालु घरको कामकाज गर्ने मात्रै पनि हुनु पर्दैन, प्लस मेल भन्ने बित्तिकै साहसी, आँटिलो पनि हुँदैन। मेलमा पनि आफ्नै विकनेसेसहरू हुन्छ, फिमेलमा पनि उनीहरू आफ्नै तरिकाको हुन्छन्। लेट देम बी, जो जस्तो छ त्यस्तै हुन दिनुस् के। उनीहरूलाई यो त यस्तो भएपछि यस्तो हुनुपर्छ, त यसरी जन्मेको छस्, यो लिङ्ग भएर जन्मेको छस् त त्यस्तै हुनुपर्छ भन्ने होइन कि तिमी जस्तो नेचरको छौ त्यसरी नै तिमी हुर्किन्छौ, तिम्रो जस्तो सपना छ त्यस्तै सपना तिमीले देख्न पाउनुपर्छ भन्ने मेन थियो। सो यसमा मैले महिलालाई चाहिँ बनाउनु खोजेको किन भन्दाखेरि अब म त्यस्तै समाजमा हुर्केको छु जहाँ चाहिँ महिला भएपछि त्यो स्ट्रङ हुँदैन। अब आर्मी फोर्समा पुलिस फोर्समा त एकदमै स्ट्रङ हुन्छ नि, माइन्ड पनि बडी पनि एकदम फिट हो त्यस्तो हुनुपर्छ भन्ने छ, साहसी नडराउने जस्तो हुनुपर्छ भन्ने छ। अनि समाजमा महिलालाई चित्रण गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नेपाली समाजमा चाहिँ त्यही छ, डराउने अलिकति लजाउने त्यस्तो छ। अनि जस्तै अब इन्डिया भण्डारी प्रथम महिला राष्ट्रपति भयो होइन, कति धेरै हाइप भयो क्या तिनीहरू चाहिँ वाह महिला भएर त्यहाँ पुग्यो, महिला त्यहाँ पुग्नै नपर्ने त होइन नि त, वाह महिला हुनुभयो त्यहाँ पुग्नुभयो कि कस्तो। अब कुनै पुरुष राष्ट्रपति भइरहेछ, कतिचोटि भइरहेछ, प्रधानमन्त्री भइरहेछ छैन, पुरुष भएर त्यहाँ पुग्नुभयो भने छैन, तर महिला भएर त्यहाँ पुग्नुभयो वाह भन्ने छ। सो त्यो चिजलाई चाहिँ मैले ब्रेक गर्न खोजेको पनि होइन, त्यही चिजलाई चाहिँ मैले रिभर्स गर्न खोजेको, देखाउनु खोजेको।
Thank you, Patrika. Then we'll shift to another play. If anyone has watched Jacques' play, To Be, any of you? Sudam, ask.
म टुबीको चाहिँ कथा भन्दिनँ, कथा चाहिँ तपाईँ थाहा पाउनु सकिहाल्नुहुन्छ, प्रश्नहरू खोजेर मलाई चाहिँ लागेको कुरा चाहिँ टुबी हेरिरहँदाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले स्टोरी भनिरहँदाखेरि चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ हामीलाई स्टोरी भन्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति हुन्छ नि एकदमै कम्प्लेक्स स्टोरी भन्यो भने अथवा खतरा स्टोरी भन्यो भने खतरनाक खालको हुन्छ नि। अनि त्यसपछि गएर के भन्छ बिगिनिङ मिडल इन्डको एउटा ग्रामरमा बसेर लेखेको बवाल स्टोरी भन्न सकियो भने, खतरा सेटमा राख्न सकियो भने राम्रो हुन्छ भन्ने एउटा कन्सेप्ट हुन्छ होइन हाम्रो नेपालमा चलिरहेको हिसाबले चाहिँ। अनि त्यो कन्सेप्टलाई चाहिँ त्यो कुरा चाहिँ ब्रेक भएको चाहिँ मैले टुबीमा देख्न पाएको होइन। सो एउटा अपर्च्युनिटी थियो टुबीहरू हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई। अनि एकदमै त्यो के भन्छ पपेट्रीबाट चाहिँ होल स्टोरीलाई चाहिँ टेल गरिरहनु भएको थियो होइन। अनि प्रप्सहरू पनि के भन्छ त्यो प्लेमा युज गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यो टाइम गरेर हामीले डे टु डे लाइफमा चाहिँ युज गरेर अनि त्यसलाई फालेको प्रप्सहरू, ब्रसहरू भयो, टुथब्रसहरू भयो, पेन्टिङ गर्ने ब्रसहरू भयो, अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ क्यारेक्टर बनाएर उहाँले चाहिँ के भन्छ एउटा मान्छेको स्टोरी भन्नुभएको थियो। त्यो स्टोरी चाहिँ के भन्छ त्यो क्यारेक्टरको स्टोरी चाहिँ युनिभर्सल नै छ होइन। त्यो डेनमार्कमा उहाँले बनाउनु भयो, तर डेनमार्कमालाई मात्रै नभएर यो चाहिँ वर्ल्डको कुनै पनि के भन्छ कन्ट्रीमा अथवा कोही पनि मान्छेको के भन्छ कथासँग चाहिँ मिल्न सक्ने, हाम्रै समाजमा पनि मिल्ने। त्यहाँ चाहिँ अब के छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो जस्तो एकजना क्यारेक्टर छ अनि जो एक्लो छ अनि समाजमा घुलमिल नहुने खालको मान्छे छ र एक दिन डिस्कोमा जान्छ, अर्को मान्छेसँग भेट हुन्छ, प्रेम हुन्छ, विवाह हुन्छ र उनीहरू त्यो समाजमा बस्न नसकेर चाहिँ अर्को कन्ट्री चाहिँ ट्रान्सफर के भन्छ रिफ्युजीको रूपमा चाहिँ उनीहरू जान्छन् भनेको त्यो कुरा चाहिँ यहाँ नेपालमा देशै छोडेर नजान्ला होइन। तर डिफ्रेन्ट कास्टको डिफ्रेन्ट ड्रेसको बिहेको लागि त यहाँनिर नि समस्या छँदैछ। अनि यहाँनिर पनि समाजबाट निक्लिनुपर्ने बाध्यता त छँदैछ होइन। कहिले निक्लिन्छ, कहिले चाहिँ कतिपय ठाउँमा चाहिँ निकालिन्छ होइन। त्यो कुरा चाहिँ के भन्छ एकदमै सामान्य तरिकाले चाहिँ त्यहाँ प्रस्तुत भएको थियो। अनि त्यसको मलाई हेरिरहँदाखेरि चाहिँ मेरो लागि एकदमै रमाइलो कुरा चाहिँ के थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यहाँ युज भएको प्रप्सहरू, त्यहाँ युज भएको के भन्छ टेक्निकल थिङ्सहरू जस्तो लाइटको स्ट्यान्डहरू जुन छ एकदमै नजिकबाट ल्याएर लाइटहरू राख्नुपर्को छ। अनि यत्रो एउटा सानो सेट छ अनि यो सेटको माथि नै चाहिँ लाइट आउँछ र एभ्रिथिङ यहाँनिर लाइटभरि एउटा एक्टरले पछाडिबाट चाहिँ कन्ट्रोल गरेर राखेको हुन्छ। अनि त्यसपछि सानो एउटा प्रोजेक्टर छ, त्यो प्रोजेक्टरबाट चाहिँ यतापट्टि सानो तरिकाले प्रोजेक्सन भइरहेको हुन्छ होइन। टेक्निकल के भन्छ चिजहरूलाई पनि एकदमै के भन्छ सरल तरिकाले राम्रो तरिकाले चाहिँ नाटकमा प्रयोग भएको छ। अनि त्यो चाहिँ हाम्रो हामीलाई चाहिँ किन पनि अपर्च्युनिटी हो भन्दाखेरि हामीले नेपालमा जसरी रङ्गमञ्च के भन्छ प्र्याक्टिस गरिरहेको छौँ त्यो भनेको चाहिँ तपाईँ जुनसुकै रङ्गमञ्चमा गएर नाटक हेरिरहँदाखेरि पनि के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नाटकको कथा चाहिँ अलिकति तपाईँले फरक पाउन सक्नुहुन्छ होला तर प्रस्तुति हेर्ने हो भने चाहिँ शैली हेर्ने चाहिँ लगभग एउटै खालको देखिन्छ एक्टरहरू आउने अभिनय गर्ने अनि ठुलो सेटहरू बन्ने तर त्यो कुरा चाहिँ मैले हिजो 2टा नाटक हेर्दाखेरि मण्डलामा हेरेको नाटक द जब र के भन्छ टुबी मेरो लागि चाहिँ कम्प्लिटली के भन्छ नयाँ थियो अनि त्यसपछि अनि अर्को चाहिँ यो नाटकहरूले अहिले नेपालमा हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो लागि के कुनै कुरा नयाँ के भन्छ ज्ञान अथवा के भन्छ हामी के कुरामा पछाडि छौँ भन्ने कुराहरू पनि त्यसले के भन्छ देखाउनलाई सहयोग गरेको छ जस्तो लाग्छ किनकि अघि मैले भने हामीले एउटै तरिकाको कामहरू गरिरहेको छौँ र त्यसमा चाहिँ नयाँ प्रयोगको कामहरू नयाँ प्रयोगात्मक कामहरू हामीले दर्शकको लागि चाहिँ नयाँ के भन्छ शैली दिने नयाँ स्टाइलहरू दिने अनि त्यसपछि गएर आफूलाई च्यालेन्ज गर्ने कामहरू चाहिँ भइरहेको छैन होइन अनि फेस्टिभलमा हुनु र फेस्टिभल हुनु र त्यो कामहरू हुन पाउनु हामीले देख्न पाउनु भनेको चाहिँ सायद कोही न कोहीलाई चाहिँ त्यो कामले इन्सपायर गर्न सक्छ मोटिभेट गर्न सक्छ इभन हामीसँग त्यो स्कुलिङ छैन होला पढ्न जानको लागि ल मलाई पपेट्रीमा इन्ट्रेस्ट छ म यसरी पर्फर्म गर्न चाहन्छु भन्ने पनि सिक्नको लागि ठाउँ छैन होला होइन तर कोही इन्ट्रेस्ट भएको मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ अब चाहिँ त्यो कुराहरू देखेर चाहिँ कहीँ सिक्न जान सक्छ होला किनकि पहिलो कुरा त देख्नु पऱ्यो थाहा पाउनु पऱ्यो त्यो बारेमा होइन अनि त्यही नै हो
Thank you, Sudam Shilpee. One comment for you. So he had the critical observation of the play to be directed by Jacques, and he was full of appreciation for his style, novelty in his style, novelty narrative because he used the props, the lights, in a beautiful way, simple way, and he was complimenting you that you brought a novelty because. In the most of the plays, there's a beginning, middle, and end. So it has a kind of progression which is more or less predictable. But you have used the gestures, non-verbal, and then the usage of the props. The style is very much new, and it was also a learning experience for the aspiring the theatre artist. So I would like to ask you, so your selection of the style, which is non-verbal, inspired by the puppetry. So, what is your idea behind making the play that you articulate your expression through the puppets, through the gestures, and not using the sound, but using the lights and the props?
I can say it's a long story because in our theatre we've been working a lot abroad, traveling a lot. And we have not one style, we can work with physical. I've been working in Nepal before with the Gurukul, and so it's not, but in the process working abroad, especially in what's happening in Denmark and in the world, we were interested in CSR and the human rights. And we were working with some people which are teaching us in CSR. And it's very boring to listen to law text about what's wrong. When we were sitting like this, and we were talking with the teachers, is it possible to explain human rights, CSR, in a human way? So he said, wow, yeah, good idea. Why could we try to explain children, everybody, what is human rights? Not by Article 1, you have the right to this and this and this and this and this and this. So we got the idea and we started working on it. And as I'm traveling a lot, I thought, oh, it would be nice that I can have it in one suitcase with me when I'm traveling. And then we just started working with some money, and I was talking with this lawyer, what is the stories? I was taking all the 48 articles and say, which ways is the drama? And the whole idea was to make it easy and simple. And then it has been just working and working. What is the process? I think we have been working 3 years on it, cooking soup. So it's not a thing coming from our mind. It's just been a process, working. And the things has been to how to find the main character. Took a long time to find out. It was not. I tried this style, but the whole thing was I had this frame that it should not be more than one suitcase or two suitcases. That's why this simple setup. But the thing is also to say, it's been fantastic to say that the props, the objects, the puppets, is something which is very personal. A toothbrush is something very personal for me. I'm not sharing it with you.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's funny. It's just a toothbrush, but it's so personal. So everybody can relate to this. And I think that we've tried also not to do it as, how to say, that is something which happens in Denmark or in Europe, but it could happen all over the world. And everybody knows a toothbrush, whatever. So that's often what we're trying to is to find a universal language. We've been working together. I mean, it's not to say, so it could be for everybody in a way from heart to heart, you can say. In a way. So how can you communicate with this? That's what I can explain just now.
Thank you. We have here Biplab. He is the director of Champavati. They have the theatre group, which is very much popular in Vietnam and India. So they performed this Champavati play, and though I missed the play, but I went through its description that it's based on one community. They are the snake catchers. They catch a snake for the livelihood and sell to the other people. So it was based on the community of the snake catchers. So if any of you have watched Biplad's play Champavati, and they can have the critical and the appreciation or the critical review of this play. Have you done that?
No, yeah.
Maybe then it doesn't matter because we know what the plot more or less, so I ask his help in expressing his selection because for me, because we also have the communities like they have in their country, because in our country, in the southern plains, we have one caste, the Mushahar, who catches the mouses.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Mushahar is a caste, because they catch the mouse, the rat after the harvesting of the paddy, and they go to the field and they run fire here, and then they have a trap kind of thing, and they catch the mouse, and they sell mouse and they eat mouse. It's a celebration of relishing on mouse. So we have taken one community, so both are the snake catchers, and they catch a snake. They don't eat snake. Maybe in China it would have a different story, but in India they don't eat a snake. They rather go out and sell the snakes. So what is your idea? Taking one community, their livelihood, and taking that on the stage, and giving more messages, because I later realized that there's a young woman, and she goes to sell the snake to a rich person, and rich person, rather than buying the snakes, because he wishes that the women could come for his comfort. So this kind of, they have the satire, and he has unraveled the reality, the harsh reality of our hierarchy, because in our society, because there is a lot of exploitation done to the indigenous people. So he has taken the story, the plight of indigenous people, how they have been exploited. People would like to say something about the selection of your play and the selection of the community in particular.
Actually, thank you to all. Actually, the play Champavati has made on the based from snake charmers community. It's not selling the snake. Charmers. It was playing snake playing, and by playing snake, they can earn money.
Yes, I understand, because in the catalog I through the portal of
not selling snake, but playing snake.
Charmers, yes.
Yes, on type of Banjara, on type of Java, gypsies. they are playing with snake for dancing to the society to earn money, to earn their livelihood, etc. Actually, this before Champavati, there is another play whose name was Bedenme. The woman community from Gypsy. A woman from Gypsy community, that is Bedenme. This play was a vast play. The facts is same. When second time it has been made by the Soyed Shamsul, one of the best poet of Bangla, Soyed Shamsul. He has made that play in the name of Champavati by rhythmic some dialogue. Dialogue is rhythmic. First, when I read this play, I discovered that there are so many elements in our folk, in our country. There are so many folk elements in our country, and I can adapt and I can apply this to this play to keep and to showing to urbanization, showing to urban people from rural community, that folk element. And I started with some folk elements with the rural areas. There are so many folk elements. As a theatre workers, I believe to keep and to honor that rural communities जो element है, जो folk element है उसको. So then to take this element, I can apply. I have applied to make this play and to express the real fact of inside the story by making dance, by description with the song. We have made the song. Our play full of song, but and narration also. It is this song is fully descripted song. Inside the song, a singer is descripting the facts inside the play. By narration, a narrator is descripting the facts inside the play by rhythmic way, not straight line. I have this particular point of poetic play Champavati attracts us very much. Number one. Number two, we have applied the folk element which is found in the rural areas in our countries, dance or narration, etc. How to earn money by it may be religious facts, but in narration, narrative style, we are searching and we have applied that folk element in our urban theatre Champavati. This is our first motive was to make this play.
The other thing I have noticed in your play, though I have not watched, there is the element of the reality of the exploitation of that community by the other community.
Yeah.
Because there is a kind of class struggle.
Actually, women in our country, we find several times women are always tortured by the higher community. And they are the consumable product. For here we have seen in the Champavati that a person politically strongest, maybe or economically strongest, and he desires to consume the woman from needy community, subaltern community. As he has the full power, fully, and nobody protests against his activities. But in this case, Champavati is the instant on type of example. Otherwise, beside that, the wife of that strongest person, that is headman, she protests that the desires, the activities of the strongest man, headman. The two women are working in this in our play. One is instant, one is example Champavati. He is victimized by the strongest person, and other woman is the wife of that strongest person, that's the headman wife, chieftain wife, who protests against his activities. He breaks the rule. Actually, she breaks the rule. Two women is our most important part in our.
So that is the mindset of the women, I guess, because one woman is meek, weaker woman, and one woman is a stronger woman, who confronts with the exploitation of the society. So we have maybe there's a dialectic between the stronger side and the weaker side.
Yeah.
So that is very much there in the society. So how like
she's also not stronger like the wife of that head of the village. So she's also not that stronger, but at the beginning, but over a period of time, she could resist.
So one element, this is the opportunity for us to learn, because I am a theatre lover. One element I have always realized, I have seen in the theatre, is that there is the director, the theatre group who are performing on stage. They always carry along the audience with them. So there is an essence of metafictional, metatheatrical essences in the theatre. I realized yesterday, watching the job, because we all the audience have become the character of his character, because he has a kind of the connections between the audiences and the performance. So that I think that is the very essence of the theatre. So how do you put that in mind when you are performing or you are contemplating theatre? So I would like to start from Jacques. So because he was full of compliment, because when he watched your play, so he found himself in the play, because that universality is there. There are animate characters, there are inanimate characters like Toothbrush. He is also a character, so it's universal, because you told that the toothbrush is a private thing, because you don't share toothbrush with other people. But in the meantime, it's a universal character, because everyone is using toothbrush. So how you relate or connect you with the audience.
But I think I have to say, when I'm working not only with this performance, but normally is to use yourself in a way, because we are all man and woman in a way. If you use your imagination and you say, if I was this woman, how would I react? And if in a certain way, working with the text, or as a director, or as an actor, you have to use your imagination, putting you in that situation. Not saying it's me, Jacques, but it's if I was that person. If I was, so and then I think it's so, for me, it's very much important that knowing that you invite audience on stage, not physically, but you're saying welcome. Also in the opening, I mean, it's the way of how you, if you start the performance being like, I'm gonna kill you, then I don't think they have this sharing. But if you can start a performance by inviting them slowly in, then you can, okay, they open up the senses, and then you talk. I think that's
Yes.
the way to do it.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to ask the same question, adding some more inputs. For instance, a poet writes a poetry because he writes for himself only. But when it's a good poetry, and if all the people connect themselves with the poetry, but the poet may or may not have that notion that he is writing for others, but he writes for his own content. And then if the poetry is really sharing the emotion of other people, so they also get connected with the poetry. But I guess because you are performing play in front of many people, because there is a precondition that you are not performing for yourself. So how do you conceive that very idea that when you are making a contemplative play, so that it will be a shared joy or the shared pain of all the people?
I think I first I want to comment on the job because I was thinking about the play yesterday and the whole interacting with the audience. So job had, the play job at Mandala had elements where they were actually talking to the audience, right? So they were talking to the audience, they were trying to engage the audience, and so much so that when they were in Kathmandu, they even like used Nepali words and all of that to kind of get the audience to watch that. Maybe most of the times, it was also working for most of the audience, but then for me, while watching that play, after a point, it didn't work for me. I get what they were trying to do, but sometimes like the whole trying to engage the audience deliberately sometimes may fail. So that was one thing I wanted to connect. And when I work, I think I take up subjects that I know are universal, and I take up subjects that are universal, but it is not talked about, or it hasn't come up to the surface, or it is something that everybody goes through and it is everybody's personal secret, but for some reason, and because the society is not ready for it, we kind of keep it under the carpet and everything. And I think but you kind of have to wait if the society you're part of and the audience that you are trying to show it is ready for it or not. Sometimes what happens is you kind of tend to bring to stage a performance that is 10 years ahead of the community's time, and they're like, what the hell is this? And so I think there is this interesting balance that you need to kind of find, like, is my society ready for this? Am I ready for this? And what is the balance? I think that is important.
Thank you. So I would like to ask Sudam with his elaborating his deliberation, because he was full of appreciation for Jacques' work. Because he talked about the forms in the play, that was the visual texture, I would say, because the props are the visual texture. Because when you watch play in front of you, not like a cinema has a screen and then you can see what the camera has taken, depicted. But in the play you can see 3 dimensions, maybe more than 3 dimensions. There are many dimensions. The element of sound, light, the props, the smell and order of the body. So everything is there in the play. So I would like to ask him about the uses of the visual textures, the light, the sound, the props, and the movement. So how that connect to the audience, and how a good play encompasses those elements, the element of the visual textures. त्यसमा चाहिँ तपाईको त्यो जुन हामीले नाटक हेर्छौँ नि, त्यो नाटकमा हामीलाई दृश्य प्रदान हो। दृश्य यस्तो हो कि तपाईँ सिनेमा जस्तो पर्दाको पनि होइन, त 3 डाइमेन्सन भन्दा पनि धेरै डाइमेन्सन, मान्छेको त्यहाँ प्रप्स देख्नुहुन्छ, साउन्ड सुन्नुहुन्छ, लाइट हेर्नुहुन्छ, सँगसँगै मान्छेको पसिनाको गन्ध, मोजाको गन्धदेखि जिउको गन्धसम्म आइरहेको हुन्छ। यो सारा भिजुअल टेक्स्टहरूलाई तपाईँले आफूले पर्फर्मेन्स गर्दाखेरि त्यसलाई कसरी लिएर देखाउनु तपाईँको त्यो विचार आउँछ?
बुझिन नै भन्छु
हो, म फेरि एकचोटि भन्छु। अब म एकदम साहित्यिक भन्छु, त्यो के भन्दाखेरि हामीले नाटक हेर्दाखेरि, मञ्चमा नाटक हेर्दाखेरि त्यहाँ त तपाईँले प्रप्सको कुरा गर्नुभयो, तपाईँकै कुराबाट पनि इन्सपायर भएको, जस्तो जाको फिल्ममा तपाईँले प्रप्स गर्नुहुन्छ, कस्तो मजासँग प्रप्स राख्यो, कस्तो मजाले लाइटको चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ लाइट स्ट्यान्डहरू, टेक्निकल स्ट्यान्डहरू राखेर कति मजा आएको एउटा रमाइलो सुरुचिपूर्ण नाटक बनायो। मैले तपाईँले ठ्याक्क सोध्न खोजेको यो कुराहरू कतिको महत्त्वपूर्ण छ क्या, एउटा मिठो नाटक बनाउनको लागि, यो भिजुअल टेक्स्ट बनाउनको लागि यी कुराहरू कतिको महत्त्वपूर्ण छ जस्तो लाग्छ?
त्यो चाहिँ यस्तो हुन्छ, महत्त्वपूर्ण भन्दा नि त्यो स्टाइलसँग जाने कुरा हो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ, होइन? उहाँले बनाउने प्लेको त्यो स्टाइल भयो, होइन? अर्को डिरेक्टर अर्को स्टाइलमा बनाउँछ, अर्को कोही डिरेक्टरले फेरि अर्को कुनै स्टाइलमा बनाउला, होइन? अनि यो चाहिँ अब हाम्रो लागि त पहिलो कुरा चाहिँ के नै नयाँ हो नेपाली अडियन्सको लागि त्यही भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ तपाईँको अडियन्सको लिमिटेसन छ। त्यो नाटकमा 60 अडियन्स मात्रै भनेको छ, होइन? 60 जना अडियन्सले मात्रै त्यो नाटक हेर्छ, 60 जनाभन्दा बढी अडियन्सले त्यो नाटक हेर्ने होइन। अब त्यसको लागि के छ भन्दाखेरि 60 जना नजिकै बसेर नजिकै यसरी नै हेर्न मिल्ने हो, त्यो टाढाबाट हेर्ने होइन, होइन? अब तपाईँले त्यही अनुसार अब तपाईँ नाटक बनाउनुहुन्छ अनि त्यसको चाहिँ क्यानभास नै ठुलो छ ठुलो क्यानभासमा बनाउनु भएको छ अनि तपाईँले त्यसको लागि चाहिँ कुन स्टाइलमा के भन्छ प्रेजेन्ट गर्ने भनेर सोच्नु भएको छ त्यसले चाहिँ डिसाइड गर्छ कि तपाईँले कस्तो खालको सेट बनाउने हो अनि कस्तो खालको कस्ट्युम बनाउने हो कुन स्टाइल फर्ममा तपाईँले प्रेजेन्ट गर्ने हो भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ त्यसले के भन्छ डिसाइड गर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ होइन अब मेरो लागि चाहिँ के मात्रै नयाँ हो भन्दाखेरि मैले हेरिरहेको नाटक के भन्छ भन्दा नयाँ तरिकाको नाटक त्यहाँनिर मैले हेर्न पाएको थिएँ त्यो मेरो लागि अपर्च्युनिटी चाहिँ जुन यो फेस्टिभलले प्रोभाइड गर्छ
जसमा चाहिँ तपाईँको भिजुअल टेक्सचर भन्नु त प्रप्सहरू लाइटहरूले तपाईँ असाध्यै आनन्दित बनायो
होइन हजुर होइन प्रप्स लाइटले आनन्दित बनाएको होइन मलाई त्यो स्टाइलले चाहिँ आनन्दित बनायो त्यो फर्म जसरी नाटक बन्यो जसरी प्रेजेन्ट भयो त्यो चाहिँ मेरो लागि के भन्छ आनन्दपूर्ण पनि थियो अनि त्यसपछि के भन्छ नयाँ पनि थियो नौलो पनि थियो यो पहिला पनि मैले पकेट्समा पर्फर्मेन्स हेरेको थिएँ होइन तर के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि हामीले चाहिँ त्यो एउटा के भन्छ हाम्रो सोच जुन छ नि जस्तो अहिले एउटा अब आज एउटा नाटक हुँदैछ राम्रो एउटा खालको त्यसको लागि अडियन्सलाई चाहिँ के भन्छ अडियन्सको लिमिटेसन नै 30 मात्रै छ होइन त्यो नाटक हेर्नको लागि चाहिँ तपाईँले ड्रेस लगाउँछ अडियन्सलाई ड्रेस नै हुन्छ अनि अडियन्सले चाहिँ ड्रेस लगाएर त्यो नाटक हेर्न जान्छ होइन अनि हाम्रोमा यो कल्चर छैन कि कुनै नाटक हेर्नको लागि अडियन्सलाई प्रिपेयर गर्नु अगाडि नै होइन तपाईँ एकदमै हतारमा कहाँबाट काम गरेर के गरेर रसमा चाहिँ आइराखेको हुन्छ 5 बजी नाटक छ अनि त्यो नाटक हेर्नको लागि मान्छे 5:10 मा आइपुग्छ अनि फुत्त नाटक घरले छिर्छ अनि त्यसपछि उसले नाटक कहाँनिरबाट सुरु गरेको छ उसको मनस्थिति कहाँनिर छ एकदमै म्याचै हुँदैन नि त होइन तर हाम्रो लागि चाहिँ 5 बजी नाटक हुँदैछ भने त्योभन्दा अगाडि अडियन्सलाई नाटकभित्र लिएर जानको लागि नाटकको के भन्छ लाइफभित्र लिएर जानको लागि मुटुभित्र लिएर जानको लागि अगाडि तपाईँले के गर्नुहुन्छ अडियन्ससँग भन्ने पनि हाम्रोमा छैन नि त तर यो त नाटक हेर्नको लागि 60 जना मात्रै भन्ने पनि हाम्रो अडियन्सको लागि नयाँ कुरा हुनसक्छ होला होइन मैले भनिरहनु खोजेको चित्र के भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ पुरै स्टाइलमा चाहिँ जुन के भन्छ नयाँपन जुन छ मेरो लागि हामी नेपाली अडियन्सको लागि चाहिँ उहाँहरूको लागि त नयाँ नहुनसक्छ युरोपियन अथवा इभन इन्डियाले पनि यो पर्फर्मेन्सेसहरू भइरहेको छ हाम्रो लागि चाहिँ नयाँ होइन अनि त्यो हिसाबले चाहिँ मैले त्यसमा कमेन्ट गरेको र कम्प्लिमेन्ट गरेको र के भन्छ तपाईँले भनेको जस्तै मलाई मेरो लागि थिएटर मैले बनाउने थिएटर तपाईँले मलाई सोध्नुहुन्छ भने चाहिँ मेरो लागि चाहिँ त्यही हो कि एकजना अडियन्सले उसको सास सुन्न सकोस् उसको गन्ध सुन्न सकोस् त्यो लाइभलीनेस भेटोस् रङ्गमञ्चमा मैले बनाउने नाटक त्यही नै हो होइन म बनाउँदिनँ होला पपेट्री नाटक होइन इन फ्युचर तर मेरो लागि मैले एक्सेप्ट गर्नु पऱ्यो नि त्यो फ्याक्टलाई कि त्यो एज एन आर्ट त्यो कति ब्युटिफुली त्यहाँ एक्जिस्ट भएको छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ होइन त्यो कुरा चाहिँ
Biplab, I would like to ask you about the language of the play because you told that Chambavati is a play on birds. Because we all of us in Nepal grew up with the verse play, Giti Natak. It's a Giti Natak parampara, the tradition of these recitals. That is the very integral part of our society. And I will give you an example of Kartik Nas that is performed every year in the time of Diwali, the completion of Diwali in Patan. That it's a Giti Natak. It's a recitation of the poetry. So that has been performed for the last 400-500 years since the Malla period, and even our great poet Mahatma Lakshmi Prasad Devkota hero Munamana. It's in the rhyme. So yesterday something struck in my mind that there are the verses of the poetry, the language and the non-verbal. Because your expression are you have the multiple expressions. People are not using language, be it prose or the verse. They are articulating their emotions through the gestures, the usage of the puppetry, the movement of the body. So how these things bring difference to the play? Because you have chosen the poetry kind of thing, the recital kind of thing, rather than the long derivation of languages. So have any particular and the liking of any medium per se for the play?
Actually, when it transforms from verse to poet, there are so many non-verbal situation, non-verbal activities we find from them, and this is the interesting point of Champavati. No dialogue is need, no verse is need to express the facts of the not only facts, inner meaning of the play. And I started. I have said previously that I started with in the folk elements. I think in the folk elements there is so much gestures appearance beyond their speaking element, folk element, and we understand what they say, what they wanted. We understand from their gesture elements. In this play, we applied that forms of our folk elements. Actually, we get from the rural element how to make gesture to express their demand, not by spoken only. I have adopted that element from rural to urban form. This is our main points. But another question you have asked me, that idea, how to make idea. Actually we after discovering the folk elements from the rural community, we started in the floor. Some instance the story how to actually the story of the play. I tried to express my thinking to the actor, how you will express yourself about the facts. I started with them. Actually, हम जो बोलता है जे हमारा जो पास में जो है ना जो facts है, तुम करके दिखाओ ये कैसे हो सकता है? How you will express the facts? We will start it. We have started with actors, not only the story of our Champavati, but different types of story. I supplied to the actor, and they express their expression, how to express. So they are doing something to express the relevant any event, and then from them I take the part and I adapt in my play. This is my actually there are so many exercise and so many क्या बोलेगा उसको जो exercise and trying I have applied from the folk in our Champavati.
Thank you. I would like to ask Patrika, because we enjoy, we celebrate play, and in the meantime we say that this play, the theatre is empowering element that empowers society. And when I went through the script of the story of her play, that was Chapter Confession. So I have found the element of empowerment, because she has reversed the notion of masculinity, femininity, this kind of thing, patriarchal society. She has literally constructed that society. So I would like to ask you, so how the theatre empowers us? The बहिनीले चाहिँ त्यो कसरी त्यो नाटकले हैन यो सशक्तिकरण गर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ तपाईलाई? किन तपाईले आनन्दको लागि मात्र त बनाउनु भएन, तपाईको एउटा उद्देश्य के देखिन्छ भने तपाईको नाटकले समाजलाई सशक्तिकरण पनि गर्नु पर्यो र समाजका धेरै विसङ्गत कुराहरुले तपाईले विनिर्माण डिकन्स्ट्रक्ट गर्नु भयो हैन। त्यसमा तपाईको लागि चाहिँ कसरी नाटक चाहिँ एउटा इम्पावरमेन्ट सशक्तिकरणको एउटा माध्यम हुन सक्छ?
मैले देखेकै समाजमा म हुर्केकै मैले देखेकै समाजमा कति धेरै सानसानो चिजहरू छ जो चाहिँ हिडन छ कि कति धेरै भोइसेसहरू छ जो सुनेको छैन, चाहे एकजना मान्छेको होस् दुईजनाको होस् तर त्यो सुनेको छैन कि। जस्तै यो नाटकमा चाहिँ मैले डिजाइरेटिभ ट्विन्स लिएको छु। त्यो चाहिँ ट्विन्स भनेर हामी नर्मली बुझ्दाखेरि चाहिँ मेल मेल कि त फिमेल फिमेल भनेर बुझ्छौँ होइन। अनि रेयर केस पनि होइन तर त्यस्तो अफन आउने केस पनि होइन। डिजाइरेटिभ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा मेल जन्मिन्छ अर्को फिमेल हुन्छ, दुईवटा जेन्डरको जन्मिन्छ उनीहरू। अनि यसमा चाहिँ 9 महिनासम्म एउटै फिटस मतलब एउटै वुममा बस्छ उनीहरू। सो मान्छेले नर्मली उनीहरूलाई अजम गर्दाखेरि मेल जन्मियो भने मेल जस्तै हुन्छ, फिमेल जन्मियो भने फिमेल जस्तै हुन्छ भन्न छ नर्मली अजम गर्दाखेरि। तर के भने सबै मेल के भन्नु आई डिन्ट गेट एक्ज्याक्ट वर्ड्स होइन कसरी भन्यो भनेर, तर हुन्छ नि लाइक सबैमा त्यस्तो नहोला, सबैले यो चिजहरू फिल नगर्ला, तर एक दुईजना मान्छेहरू पनि हुन्छ सोसाइटीमा जसले यो चिजहरू फिल गरेर हुन्छ नि। सो यो चिजहरू चाहिँ अरू मान्छेहरूले पनि जान्नुपर्ने हुन्छ क्या। ओके हाम्रो समाजमा यस्तो पनि मान्छेहरू हुन्छ जसले यो चिजहरू भोगिरहेको छ, यो चिजहरू फिल गरिरहेको छ। जस्तै यसमा पनि जुन बहिनी छ मतलब ट्विन बहिनी छ उसले चाहिँ रिलेसन के अरे टिन एजमा पुग्न लाग्दासम्म सी स्टार्ट्स ह्याभिङ फिलिङ फर हर ब्रदर कि आफ्नो दाइको लागि त्यो के भन्ने रोमान्टिक फिलिङ्स डेभलप गर्न थाल्छ। त्यो ल सबैले डेभलप नगर्ला, हाम्रो समाजमा पाच्यो पनि छैन, त्यो पचाउन पनि सक्दैन नर्मली। बट कसैलाई हुन्छ होला कि हुन्छ नि, हुन्छ पनि कति मैले एक दुईजना देखेको पनि छु लाइक हुन्छ पनि। अब जस्तै एउटै फिटस बसेको छ उनीहरूले सेयर गरेको छ, बाउले माया गर्दैन केही पनि गर्दैन, दाइले नै उसलाई हेर्छ माया गर्छ हुर्काउँछ उ गर्छ, उसले सेयर गर्ने पनि सी क्यान बी दाइको अगाडि चाहिँ जस्तो छ त्यसरी नै हुनसक्छ। समाजले चाहिँ उसलाई केटी भएर यस्तो नगर उस्तो नगर केटाहरूसँग झगडा नगर भन्छ, तर दाइले चाहिँ उसलाई जस्तो छ त्यसरी नै एक्सेप्ट गर्छ नि त। सो सी फिल्स कि मेरो दाइ नै मेरो सोलमेट हो, मेरो दाइले जति मलाई कसैले बुझ्दैन कसैले पनि माया गर्दैन। अनि यस्तो केसहरू चाहिँ सबैले देखेको छैन बुझेको छैन कि। सो यस्तो सानसानो मान्छे यस्तो सानसानो इस्युहरू भएको यस्तो चिजहरूलाई कम्प्लेक्सिटिजहरू लिएर बाँचिरहेको मान्छेहरू पनि हुन्छ। सो उनीहरूको भोइसेसलाई चाहिँ यो प्ले मार्फत लिएर आएर चाहिँ उनीहरूको यिनीहरू यस्तो मान्छेहरू पनि छ है, यस्तो इस्युहरू पनि छ है हाम्रो समाजमा चाहिँ भनेर देखाउन खोजेको छु। अनि यसले चाहिँ सशक्तिकरणमा अहिले नै नगर्ला तर फ्युचरमा चाहिँ एटलिस्ट यसले हेल्प गर्छ यस्तो इस्युहरू अझै अपराइज हुनलाई, अझै यस्तो इस्युहरू बाहिर ल्याउनलाई चाहिँ हेल्प गर्छ।
आई वान्ट टु कमेन्ट त्यसमा त्यो उसको प्लेमा चाहिँ त्यो त्यहाँ एउटा त्यो इन्सेस्टको कुरा पनि उसले ल्याएको छ होइन। अनि the way but my concern is the way it's presented, it's like they're young, I'm assuming they're young होइन। अनि यङ छ अनि उनीहरू खेल्दा खेल्दै हुन्छ बहिनी चाहिँ अलिकति म्यास्कुलिन छ, त्यो दाइ चाहिँ अलिकति फेमिनिन छ। अनि उनीहरू खेल्दै लडीबुडी गर्छ, अनि लडीबुडी गर्दाखेरि बहिनी चाहिँ दाइलाई किस गर्छ होइन। अनि अब आई थिङ्क फर मोस्ट पिपल वाचिङ ओ माई गड वाट द हेल्प हुन्छ होला होइन। अनि तर त्यो कुरा उसले भने जस्तो सायद मेनी ट्विन्सहरूमा अथवा ब्रदर सिस्टरमा एउटा हिसाबले एक्जिस्टिङ पनि छ होला अथवा छैन होला, आई डोन्ट नो होइन। तर मलाई लागेको चाहिँ त्यो कुराले कसरी एक्जिक्युट भइरहेछ होइन। फर इक्जाम्पल कसरी एक्जिक्युट भइरहेछ आई थिङ्क तिम्रोमा काइन्ड अफ सेमी जस्टिफाई हुन्छ तर पुरै चाहिँ भएन कि जस्तो मलाई फिल भयो। किनभने देयर आर पिपल हु हेभ बिन अब्युज्ड बाई देयर ब्रदर्स एन्ड सिस्टर्स अल्सो होइन। अनि किनभने यङ एजमा त्यो उमेरमा 1-2 वर्षको अन्तरालमै पनि ब्रदर सिस्टरहरू हुँदाखेरि एउटा मायाले गरेको किस भयो होइन अथवा वाट एभर। मलाई कहिलेकाहीँ फिजिकल लभ भनेको चाहिँ एक्सटेन्सन अफ जेनरल लभै हो जस्तो लाग्छ। कति माया देखाउन नचाहेर चाहिँ फिजिकलिटी हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ। तर त्यो केसमा चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ कस्तो भयो भने यदि कोही मान्छे जो चाहिँ अब्युज भएको छ बाई अ ब्रदर हु इज 1 year older when a person was 13 तर ब्रदर was 14 होइन अथवा भाइस वर्सा, त्यो मान्छेलाई चाहिँ त्यो हेर्दाखेरि अलिकति ट्रमेटिक लाग्थ्यो कि त्यो सिन भनेर मलाई चाहिँ त्यो कन्सर्न पनि भएको थियो। You want to comment on that or I just wanted to share it?
कमेन्ट अब So we have crossed 1 hour already. So that is the two-thirds of the given time. So we have remaining half an hour. So this is like a master class. We are so close. So I would like you to ask the panelists or the theatre director if you have any question, comment, suggestion, whatever you have. So we will have now the floor discussion open. So I can see Michael raising hand, and then we'll go to Srinath.
Yeah, Michael.
But you can start, please.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Michael.
Okay. I would have 2 questions for the play to be and 2 for your play, Patrika. Just from the timeline. It seemed that I really appreciated a lot that you also took props of the daily life, which made me understood that human rights is also something of daily life. So this line I appreciate a lot. It seemed that sometimes when you were working with the props, then you were a little bit in contact with the audience, with the children, and sometimes you were, also as a player, you were much inside the story. So the one question is, where do you, how do you decide how much you are going into contact with the audience and how much you are staying inside the story? So this is the one question. And the other question is, in the end of the story, when the mother is staying alone and then the daughter and the son-in-law, they are coming and skiing with her, it might be understood that now the children are helping the mother. It might be. Yeah? And especially, as I know and I experience still now in the Nepali society, but also in my country in Austria sometimes, this is an issue. That the children are supposed to support the parents, which sometimes is a very hard story, and especially related to human rights. I think it's a critical question. So the second question would be how you deal with this issue in this more or less one of the last images you have in the play.
Yes. Thank you very much. First. The first one about the contact with the children, the audience, it's very much, how to say, it's a bit, how to call it, day to day. Depends a little on how the kids are, how the audience are. And but it's at the same time, it's a bit, we have this technique for the clown performances, you know, about sharing things, staying in your, I do something and then I can just look, did you get it? Okay. Then I can go on. It's like communication with audience, and it's a kind of technique also. But you sometimes you have audience with kids, especially where they can like eat you. If you are communicating too much, then I'm watching out, not too much looking out. So it's a kind of, I know I have to communicate dialogue with audience, but not too much also. So it's a bit the day to day, I would say. About the other one. It's the first time I hear this thought about, it's about the children taking care of the parents. It's the first time I hear. So that's nice that it also has this kind of view, because I've never thought about it, that it was that image, the performance. Because for me the image has been, or the picture has been a kind of happy ending, that we're together. Now her husband is dead. My daughter, she's coming back, and even now, the world is turning on, and the friends are coming. So it's nice. Thank you very much. I have not thought about this issue about that the children should take care of their children or their parents. I would think about it, but often I get very many comments. I mean, that's because as it's without words. And children can come and say so many things about their story, what they got out of it. It's very different from each spectator. And some of the children are solely focused on the beatings or the fight, or some of there was one where it's so sad that her best lover died. Or it can be so many things in the performance which are important for each one of us or the spectators. So I have not thought about this. Thank you very much.
He has another question for Patrika, I think.
Yes.
Okay, if I may go on.
What?
Thank you very much. I would like to add something because Akanchha, I think we are going the same direction with that, but just not to reproduce the stereotypes of female and male the other way around. I would say when we are speaking about that, it is the point of view which is the kind of mainstream view of seeing an action as a female or a male action. But in a way, it is not a boy who loves to dance, a boy, just to very clear, not
the
to
societal
reproduce it.
perception of it, not what, like, so we kind of, when we speak, we kind of tend to speak from a society's perspective of it. So I'm not saying that dancing is feminine or gymming is masculine, but that's how society perceives it. So
That's
I'm
a
saying the stereotype.
I understood that, but I just want to point on that because I think this is one question for the play, for me. How to deal with it in a way that if you very clearly show the boys going with so-called female actions, likes to do so-called female actions, and the girl is doing so-called male actions, how to avoid that the people not again are coming into stereotypes and again are thinking, oh, this is a boy who is doing female action, and this is a girl who is doing male action. And how to break this kind of break, or at least open up this kind of perception that there is something like female action, or there is something like or behavior, and there is something like male behavior. So that would be the one question. And the second question is, in the end of the story, you had this kind of transformation, and it was not, for me, it was not so clear. Therefore, I want to ask you if this kind of happy ending, it is something which is the dream of the girl, or it's something which is your dream as a director or directress, or it is just written in the play. So this would be my second question.
She wrote herself the play.
Yeah.
I'll answer the second question first. It's the dream of the character. Like, she is in that position where her father wanted her brother to be. She has reached that position, and maybe she liked those things. I mean, subconsciously she wanted to be in that position too. But then she is in there, but she is not happy. She has achieved what she has to, but she is not happy. Why? Because she has nobody to share the happiness with. In her subconscious mind, she wants her father, she wants her brother, she wants a happy family. So that's the dream of the character. And first question, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I don't know, like, maybe my perception is like, I don't know, it's one-accounted or one-sided or what, but I think my job as a director was to put forward an issue, a problem, not to like search for solution. I have to put forward to audience, this is the case, this is the problem. Now they have to go outside the play and they have to think, okay, that was a problem, can we solve it, or I don't know, whatever, but I have to just provoke their mind. Like, I never search for the solution, I don't know. I mean, did I answer your question right?
Jacques, some comment.
I understand what you're saying, because often, as I say, I did not see your play, but it's not as you say the solution. We are often, as an artist, we are breaking taboos. Saying there's this problem, like you're saying there's incest or whatever. We're bringing up things, problems in the life, taboos, but we're not saying this is the solution. We just show things.
And I think what Michael was saying was also, were you aware about the danger of the reverse stereotype being dangerous? Like, you understood what Michael said, right? To tackle केटीलाई masculine बनायो केटालाई feminine बनायो झन् त्यसले त झन् propagate गर्छ कि stereotypes अनि त्यो danger को बारेमा are you aware भनेर सोधेको
त्यो मात्रै बुझ्छ कि भन्ने यो चाहिँ महिलालाई पुरुष बनाएको पुरुषलाई महिला बनाएको हो अरु कुरा चाहिँ यथावतै छ यो प्लेटलाई मात्रै बनाएको हो कि भन्ने कुरा बुझ्छ कि
But then I think that situation is already, it's in the society, right? It's how people perceive, like society perceive things for gender and how do I say it? How do I put it? So many things. I don't know how to put it in words.
Maybe can I?
Yes, you can go for the question.
One of the thing is about your play. I mean, unfortunately, I was not there yesterday, but I watched it because I was one of the, like in the selection thing. So, the form itself, how you brought everyday thing into the play, and also how you really brought that, everybody, every play, they use props, they use lights, they use things, but you show that most of the time those things are hidden, but how you brought it in front, kind of, that breaking conventional notion of what theatre, that form was, I think, a very interesting part, and also kind of it reminds me, because I have a 9-year-old kid, and he is always like taking things and playing, and he makes like stories and all these things, and so that childlike kind of element is the best part, I thought, so it's really best part, and also it encourages I mean, whoever has watched your play, they would more encouraged to be more imaginative for the inspiration, I guess, in that sense. So I really appreciated that. And about Patrika's, and before her, I would like to talk a little bit about Jacques. It's very interactive, very things, but I felt so many times it's like they were just trying to push so hard, actually it repelled. It really repelled me. People were laughing and I was just looking up. Why, I felt like that. So in that sense, how successful, sometimes you try to, too much pushing can be, instead of attracting it, repel, and it really repelled me in that sense. And I could not watch your performance, sorry about that, just could not make it the whole through. And on your play, Patrika, I really like the story line, how you created, and then how you really try to, reverse, I mean, that's what I guess we are trying to do, and but there are 2-3 things it kind of really made me question. One is the title, the confession, my father is a murderer, and there are 3 murder we can look at the play, I think. One is the mom, he didn't take it to hospital, that's why she kind of died. And then one is like how the son who wanted to be who he is, but he was not allowed to do, or for the same goes for the good daughter, they were not allowed to be who they were. And the another physical being killed, the brother. But my question is, how, when, just before the brother killed himself, it is the sister actually who pushes him to that point. It's not father. Father is always pampering. Whereas it's a sister who said, if you go and die, then maybe my father would love me. In that sense, actually sister became a killer rather than murderer than the father. So how do you answer on that? That's the one thing. And have you thought about that? That's the question. And the other thing is, after watching the play, there are so many technical errors were there, you know, and because of that, like, I was questioning myself, is this play really ready to be on the stage at yesterday? Is that because of, you know, you didn't do the rehearsal as much as you were supposed to do, or some other kind of thing? And also some part of the actings where actors were doing, I felt really, you know, under the line. Yeah, I would like to ask you, like, how you prepare yourself, and on the storyline. For me, the sister became also the murderer in the case. Thank you.
First question को answer चाहिँ father र छोरी they share the same gene, right? अनि father ले के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि first it was his fault कि उसले आमालाई हस्पिटल लगेन, उसले हस्पिटल नलगेको कारणले आमाको मृत्यु भयो, बट उसले एभ्री टाइम छोरीलाई दोष दिन्छ, त यसले आफ्नो आमा खाइ, यो हत्या र यसले आफ्नो आमा खाइ. सो द सेम थिङ फादर र छोरीमा त्यही सिमिल्यारिटी छ कि भन्छ नि, छोरी पनि त्यही चिज गर्छ, उसलाई थाहा छ, उसलाई भित्र गिल्ट फिल छ, मैले यो गरेँ, मैले दाइलाई उ गरेँ, दाइलाई प्रोभोक गरेँ, बिकज दाइ इज अलिकति भोटु अलिकति खालको त्यस्तो हुन्छ नि, इज लाइक सफ्ट अलिकति खालको, त्यो सेन्सिटिभ चिजहरूलाई लिइहाल्ने खालको छ. सो मैले प्रोभोक गरेँ, सो हि कमिटेड सुसाइड. बट त्यो गल्ती चाहिँ उसले अब बाउलाई पुग्छ, जसरी बाउले आफ्नो गल्ती मैले हस्पिटल लगेको भए मेरो श्रीमती पास थियो कि भन्ने गल्तीलाई उसले छोरीमा पुग्छ, त्यही गल्ती चाहिँ छोरीले अब आमा के अरे बाउलाई पुग्छ कि. सो इट्स लाइक तिनीहरू दे आर सेम, सन्की छ, छोरी पनि दिशा छ, बाउ पनि दिशा छ, दे आर लाइक सेम, एउटै लाइनमा छन्. त्यो चाहिँ या एक्ज्याक्टली फर्स्ट टेक्निकल एरर लाइटमा चाहिँ हामीले सोमै मात्रै गरेको हो, त्योभन्दा अगाडि हामी गर्न पाएन. आई डोन्ट नो अब मेरो साइडबाट पनि हुन्छ या मेरो साइडबाट बढी होला, त्यो लाइटमा चाहिँ हामीले एकचोटि पनि गर्न पाएन. अनि अरू चिजहरूबाट पनि सपोर्टहरूबाट पनि सपोर्ट हेल्प वाटेभर आई डोन्ट नो. अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ अलिकति ऊ पनि थियो, लाइनको कनेक्सन थिएन, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी थिएन त्यो टाइममा, वी वर युजिङ जेनेरेटर. अनि जेनेरेटर चाहिँ एकदम अफ भएर थियो. बिचमा चाहिँ धेरै ठाउँमा चाहिँ हाम्रै फल्ट थियो, एक्टर्सहरूको पनि मेरो बढी थियो, बट कति टाइममा चाहिँ हामीले कन्ट्रोल गर्न नसक्ने चिज हुन्छ नि, एक्सटर्नल फ्याक्टरहरूले पनि हामीलाई अफेक्ट गरेको थियो कि. जेनेरेटर आफै अफ भइदिने, लाइट अफ भइदिने, हामीले त मिलाउन लाग्ने कि के गर्ने, सो त्यहाँ ब्रेक भइरहेको थियो तल उसमा के अरे सिनरमा. तर म एज अ डिरेक्टर आई टेक द्याट मेरो गल्ती, अनि पछि फ्युचरमा हामी पुग्दैन.
Maybe we can take a couple of questions. We have questions from the audience. Also, लगभग साढ़े, so we still have 5-7 minutes as per the given time. So maybe if you have a short question, we can get it. Those who have watched the performance.
तपाईहरु कोले त्यो प्लेहरू हेर्नु भएको छ भने अलिकति आफ्नो के लागेको कुराहरू भनिदियो भने इन्करेज हुन्छ नि, हैन?
So any of you have any question or comment? Oh, he has a question. Then we can end off with.
So I would like to ask to Biplab that. So in the brochure, it is said that the play is the story of like the courage of two women, but and then there are two classes obviously. And then she is tortured by the upper class, and then like later she is able to escape from that. But at the end again, so she goes back to her husband who has married another girl already, and then she sacrificed herself, and then like it's to the same level now. So she is tortured by the upper class, but is like being sacrificed by her own home, or let's say her own husband. So why is that, and how it shows that empowerment, or like that courage or something you're saying, you're trying to show?
Actually, this is the tragedy of women life. Once she was tortured by the community, and at the end, we see in our country, the woman is the only thing to save her husband or community. It's a tragedy of women. I think it is. There is no other way to save her husband. Actually, she loves husband. She loves her husband very much. Those stories that another woman have come to his husband. Actually, चंपास जो husband था, वो तो second time married किया. Second time, Asmani is another woman, another wife. She knows, Champavati knows that Asmani is the second wife of his husband. In spite of that, it's a tragedy. To save her life, she also go forward to withdraw the poison from her husbands. It's a tragedy of women, I think. My concern is.
Thank you everyone, because we are very much inspired by your encouraging participation. So we had a very good discussion. I thank George, Akanchha ji, Sudam ji, Biplab, Patrika and everyone for your participation. So thank you. We'll catch up for the next session tomorrow morning.